The Corsair Void Pro RGB headset delivers long-lasting comfort, backed by precision audio with 7.1 surround from its 50mm drivers. The unidirectional flip-down mic features noise cancellation for enhanced VoIPing, and the 2.4 GHz wireless audio offers up to 16 hours of battery life with a 40-foot range. To learn more about the Corsair Void Pro RGB, click the link in the description below.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. So a few weeks back, Austin Evans and I were challenged by Fractal Josh of Fractal Design North America to assemble a Threadripper gaming system on a speeding yacht that was going about 40 knots. I have no idea how fast that is, but it felt really fast. And this is the monstrosity that Austin and I came up with. It's somewhat of a finished PC. You can see that there's certain things missing or certain things not in their proper place. We'll talk about all of our mistakes in just a bit, but we didn't have any peripherals on the yacht, so we were unable to verify whether or not the system cleared post. It did boot, it did power on, LEDs turned on and that sort of thing, but we didn't have a monitor connected to. However, some of you guys might have spotted in that video, which you should check out by the way if you haven't yet, it's hilarious, that there was a post error code on the actual digital readout on our ROG Zenith Extreme motherboard here, which indicated that the system did not post. So now that we're here in the studio, I have a connected monitor. We can completely verify whether or not the system actually runs. So without further ado, I think this is a good place to start. Let's just go ahead and try to turn the system on. There is a surface-mounted power reset button, which is good because Austin and I did not connect the front panel connectors. And there it goes. Oh, it just turned off. Hopefully it'll turn back on. Yay! So fans are spinning, or I should say fan is spinning. Hey, 1 out of 4 ain't bad. Oh, there it is. Code 0E, check CPU. There's something funky going on here. Since yesterday, this motherboard has spit out 4 different postcode errors. Completely different and completely unrelated, seemingly. And to the point where I just don't even know where to start troubleshooting this thing. But this is the first time I've seen 0E or OE. I can't really tell if it's a 0 or an O, but it did give me code 92, which was, it said NVRAM, test NVRAM. So maybe something with the memory, and then there was another one that was just said postcode error, and that was 0D. So literally 3 or 4 postcodes within the last 24 hours that this thing has spit out. Clearly, either Austin and I royally messed this system up, as everyone would expect, or there's something a little buggy about our X399 motherboard, and there have been numerous reports online that X399 in its current state is not performing up to snuff. There's certain bugs, certain issues with the BIOS and etc. that are causing it to just act out. And I noticed a lot of users in the forums have been hit with the same postcode errors that I am right now. The only difference is they didn't build their system on a yacht. So I'm not exactly sure where to go from here. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna take this system apart and reassemble it outside of the case so we can essentially attempt an external test boot and see if that does the trick. And while I go about uninstalling all of these parts, we can detail every little mistake that Austin and I made when trying to assemble this system. So why don't we go ahead and start there? I'm gonna go ahead and switch camera angles so we can start tearing this guy apart. All right, so first off, you'll have to forgive the tripod that's here. It was the easiest way I could get an overhead shot of the system to show you guys what's going on. But before we start taking things apart, you can already see some of the issues here. I mean, we've only got 2 fans on this 360mm radiator for the AIO. This fan isn't even mounted. It's plugged in. No, it's not even plugged in. And the cable is like pinned on something, so you can't just yank it out without completely breaking the fan. So we'll just leave that there. And then also the case itself is damaged. We had to smash down, if you guys watched part 1, then you know that Austin and I had to smash down the motherboard tray because the Meshify C, the way it works is the motherboard tray is flat, and then on the right side of the motherboard, the tray kind of bows up. Where the rubber grommets are for cable routing and stuff. We actually had to push that flush to make the entire motherboard tray flat in order to fit the ROG Zenith Extreme in here, which is an EATX motherboard. This case does not natively support EATX motherboards, which is something I had overlooked when bringing all the parts onto that yacht. So that was my bad, but hey, we got it installed, more or less. And because of that, because we smashed down the motherboard tray, it sort of warped the shape of the case, and now the front panel doesn't sit flush with the rest of the chassis. It kind of just sticks out no matter what you do. But hey, you know what? It's just a cosmetic thing. I'm sure the case is still perfectly functional. Additionally, Austin and I only managed to get 2 fans installed on our 360 radiator for our Celsius AIO. We actually had to remove the middle fan in order to fit the Strix GTX 1080 Ti in here. Again, I picked all the parts for this build, and I feel bad. I feel very bad. Now, just to reiterate, this one radiator fan was the only fan in the entire system that got plugged in to the motherboard. So the rear exhaust fan does not spin up, nor does the floater fan here resting on the power supply shroud. The power supply fan spins up. That's because Austin and I never touched it, so it's working just fine. But let's move on, shall we? Starting with the graphics card, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug both of our PCIe cables. Fortunately, the graphics card didn't seem to get too banged up, all things considered. There's a few light scratches on the backplate. For the most part, came out more or less unscathed. And then we've got some power connectors here, a 24-pin ATX, 8-pin EPS. Notice how we routed all these cables through the basement cover and not the cable routing holes on the side of the motherboard, because those are completely obscured by the board itself. Fun. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the radiator now, which was securely held in place by 2 screws. 2 screws are plenty for a large container that's holding fluid in your computer. Now we've got some motherboard screws. Oh my God. Oh my God, there's not a single screw holding this motherboard in place. How is that possible? I thought we installed at least one. So apparently the graphics card, which was mounted to the motherboard and screwed in to the case with 1 thumb screw, was the only thing holding this motherboard in place. I mean, apart from, you know, the I/O shield, if you want to count that, and maybe the pre-installed middle standoff. Holy moly. And this is a big motherboard too. Let me get you out of here. Someone's gonna call Motherboard Protective Services on us. Shit, I might turn us in. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 standoffs installed, plus the middle one, but I can see why we didn't get a single screw in, because it still wasn't 100% flush with the motherboard tray, simply because we had smashed it down. You can kind of see the damage here that we forced upon this poor chassis. Good Lord. Well, at this point, let me get the freaking power supply out of here before we cause any more damage. There's loose, rattling screws in here. What's going on? I have never abused hardware to this degree. This isn't who I am, guys. It's not me. Power supply seems okay, I think. Now, as far as the drive, we did have a single M.2 SSD installed right underneath this little plate here. Let me get a little screwdriver. Our chipset cover / heatsink. This did sustain some nasty scratches, most likely from the graphics card, but what can you do? Okie dokie. Oh my God. Who installed the, Austin? I think Austin installed the M.2 SSD. He forgot to remove the plastic that goes right on top of the thermal pad, but that's okay, because the system didn't boot anyway. But now we can toss this aside. At least it kept the thermal pad nice and clean. I honestly can't blame Austin though. There was so much crap going on in that yacht that, I mean, I was messing things up left and right, so I completely understand if a tiny detail like that gets overlooked. Let me go ahead and put this board on a box. Biggity boom. Now, while we're here, why don't we just plug in this guy? Alrighty, we are a go for a test boot. Cross your fingers, everybody. Let's hope this goes well. Don't explode, please. Oh, are we in an infinite boot cycle? It looks like we are. Shit. All right, you know what? I'm gonna try swapping out the graphics card. So here we've got a GTX 1050 Ti. Stick this little guy in here. Doesn't require any additional power than what it gets from the PCIe slot. And boot. Oh, it looks like we're getting that same postcode error, 0D or OD. This board is clearly ODing on something. There were no postcodes listed in the manual, so I'm not exactly sure what that is indicating. It's got the little hard drive symbol next to it, but again, the only drive we have in here is a single M.2. Why don't we go ahead and remove the M.2 drive and see what happens. So it's cycling through all the different components, and when it gets to hard drive, it spits out the 0D error. So it could be a weird BIOS thing that forces you to connect a SATA drive or something like that. Let's see if this does anything at all. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Something's a little off, because when we had the Strix GTX 1080 Ti installed, it was just in an endless boot cycle. And as soon as we swapped it out for a different card, all of a sudden now we're getting a hard drive postcode error. So I don't even know if the motherboard knows what's wrong. Same error, 0D. Now you know what's unfortunate is that I don't actually have another X399 motherboard on hand right now. So I can't even verify if it's the motherboard or not, but we can check the CPU. We did apply thermal paste and all that. Let me get a torque screw. Oh, what's this? This seems a little bit loose. The screw was not 100% screwed. Wait, neither was this one. These weren't screwed in all the way. Oh my God, I installed the CPU, so this is all me. I suck. Wow. I wonder if that was it. That's gotta be it, right? Because I mean, if the pins aren't making contact with the contacts, then we've got issues. Okay, let's try this one last time, shall we? Here we go, people. Moment of truth. There it is again, code 0D, post error, next to a little hard drive symbol. The hard drive that's not even connected. So I am sort of at a loss here. I feel like I've kind of hit a roadblock and there's no further troubleshooting I can actually do until I get another X399 motherboard in here. I can't even get into the BIOS, guys. Like, splash screen, nothing. So I'm gonna have to call it for this video for now. I will say this, that I don't think that this is an issue that Austin and I caused. I think there's some serious bug with either the motherboard or the BIOS or the firmware or something going on. Maybe it's a conspiracy and Asus is trying to kill us all. That's obviously what's going on here. But I gotta man up and admit that I was unable to get this system to post properly. And Fractal Josh, if you're watching this, Austin Evans owes you lunch. With that said, guys, let me know what you think. If you have any other grand ideas of how I could get this system to post, let me know in the comments, and feel free to toss me a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more tech stuff coming at you really soon, and I will see y'all in the next video.